Also, if you are looking for something new and different for the upcoming Compliance Week celebration in November, check out The Compliance Kids. It's my 3-book children's series on compliance and compliance professionals for children. But they make great gifts and great training tools for your employees. You can check it out on Amazon.com. We've linked to it in the show notes.
Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
The Daily Compliance News for September 20, 2024, the second trial edition. We begin with that story from Bloomberg. You may recall my reporting on the Vietnamese tycoon who was convicted of corruption and sentenced to death. Well, guess what? She's having a second trial. So I'm not quite sure what they can do to her this time around, but therefore allegedly fraudulent misappropriation of property, money laundering, and the illegal transport of currency across international borders. The trial could last up to a month, and 2 death sentences maybe. Next up, from the Financial Times, it reports that the VW audit of the Zhengzhou plant failed to meet international standards. The audit that VW claimed cleared it of all allegations of forced labor in Xinjiang failed to meet international standards. VW said last December it had found no indications of any use of forced labor at its plant in western China. But the Loaning, a Berlin consultancy, said that VW had not met international standards. The audit report, which has been reviewed by the Financial Times, said that there was no adherence to critical aspects of SA 8000 auditing standards. Next up, we have the first of 2 stories from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal. The first from Richard Vandeford reporting that Danske Bank has agreed to pay the equivalent of $7 million in a settlement with French authorities over its failure to stop money laundering at its former branch in Estonia. This is a part of an overall fine and penalty that the bank has had to pay, and indeed $230 billion flowed through the Estonian bank in money laundering, and the bank agreed to pay $2 billion in 2022. Our final story comes to us once again from the Risk and Compliance Journal at the Wall Street Journal. This time, Mingy Sun reporting that the U.S. DOJ has heralded its new whistleblower program, which in the first 30 days garnered some 100 tips. So the DOJ can only say that this has been a smashing success so far. Of course, it's too early to tell if there will be any criminal prosecutions or actual financial awards or rewards, I should say, paid by the Department of Justice. But that's a pretty good start. And given the slow start of the SEC whistleblower program, I should say not slow, but it was the first one, so the numbers were much lower. I think you can only say it's an unqualified success for the DOJ, so get ready, corporations. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.